Hello, everyone. My name is Drew Dorweiler. I'm an FCBV, and I have the privilege of hosting a webinar today on the impact of AI on the business valuation profession. And what our distinguished panelists hope to address is AI an opportunity or a threat for our profession? And speaking of our distinguished panelists, I'd like to introduce Brian Langes, an investor and the CEO of the investment firm Cape May Capital, followed up by Avela McDonald, a leader of the valuation practice of Deloitte, as well as Ashley James, a leader of the valuation practice of Deloitte, and finally, Alexandre Barry, a leader of the M&A practice of Deloitte. Let's start off with Brian. Brian will be speaking about AI and business valuation, providing an overview.
Yeah, thank you, Drew. Yes, AI, it's a big topic of the hour, a lot of buzz. It makes the headline. You don't know what's hype, you don't know what's real. There's a big announcement every week. So let's cut back a little bit. Let's rewind the conversation. AI has been present with us for a long time. It's actually 70 years old. It's from the 50s. You can go back to a guy named Alan Turing, the polymath genius. There's movies and books about him. You probably heard of him. And he asked a question, and basically his question was, look, humans use knowledge and reason to solve their problems and make decisions. So why can't machines do the same thing? So that was his point. His problem back then was that computers were crappy. They were slow, expensive, and not really accessible. Move forward to today, obviously a lot of that has changed. What happened? Well, you have three key ingredients that came together that made AI what it is today. And the first one is data, a lot of data. AI needs a lot of data. You need to train in a lot of data. When AI sees a picture of a cat, it knows it's a cat because it's seen pictures. It sees millions and millions and millions of pictures of a cat. The second key ingredient that made this work was computing power. Much better, much faster, more powerful. And also thanks to the cloud, which have access. And the third ingredient that make this work is the algorithm. That's a word that we hear a lot, but what is it exactly? That's the instruction that you give the computer to do whatever you want it to do. It's what makes a computer learn, analyze, make decisions, to the point where, this is AI. That's when the computer starts to learn on its own and to mimic human intelligence. Now, the big turning point was, ChatGPT 3.5 that came out, 2022-ish, 100 million user so fast. And we went from, AI is present everywhere, but it was something that's running in the background. Your Facebook feed, your Google ad, when you go shopping on Amazon, when your Netflix recommendation, that was AI. But now we went from, now I can use it to create content. Now I can use it to assist me in my decisions, to help me solve problems. And that's when this big frenzy thing started. So how is all this relevant to the business valuation profession? AI is not going away. It's here to stay. The genie is out of the bottle. There's no big red button to stop it. So you need to adapt. That means getting comfortable with the tools. That could be like prompt writing. And this is the part where AI, you need to look at it like it's a tool. What kind of tool? It's a productivity tool. And why would you use AI? Why would you use it? Well, to save time, right? If AI had a mission statement on the wall, it would say to save time. How? Being more productive. What does that mean? Doing more with less. If once we get to the point where, this thing is here to stay, and two, it's a tool, well, your boss or the client, the end product, the solution that you provide, they're not going to care if you use Google, some AI fancy tool, Wikipedia, whatever. They just want to, all they care about really is, did you fix my problem? That's the only thing that they care about. Which brings to, the profession of business evaluator. We're not going away. We are in the business of professional judgment, reflection, Yes, some tasks might change, obviously, but can AI replace all the tasks? I don't think so. Good question to ask. Will AI replace reasoning, in a couple of years? I don't have the answer to that. I don't know if anybody has the answer to that. But for the moment, AI is here to help you make decisions instead of making decisions for you. And we have to remember that AI lives on the internet. It needs data. It needs electricity. We live in the real world. I connect with you. I connect with you. I connect with you. We exchange. AI doesn't do that. So that's a big, big, big distinction, right? It doesn't have the same depth that a human has. It can't replace a human. So I guess the point in all of this is that to become a business evaluator, you have to use the best tools that are available for you. And instead of fighting it or being afraid of it, you start playing with it and embrace it.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Just a follow-up question. So machine learning, you don't think that machine learning will evolve to such a degree it will down the road replace our professional judgment? Will there always be a role for evaluator?
Right. So good question. Sure. We have ChatGPT 4. We'll have 5, we'll have 6, we'll have 7, we'll have 15. It'll always get better. But for the moment, we can only work with what the tools we have now. So you can either be, I'm going to fight this, and probably AI will replace you, or learn how to use AI tools and get better at your job.
And next we have Avela and Ashley, and they'll be discussing the impact of AI on business valuation processes.
I think it's a really exciting time for AI and the business valuations profession in general. AI is really revolutionizing the way we work and pushing us to think a bit outside the box of how we complete certain tasks that we're so used to doing one way versus the other. For example, we actually got AI to write a bit of the script that we're speaking right now. And that's really how I see AI. I see it more as an enhancer to the work that we do as business evaluators. I don't think it's replacing people. I think it's enhancing the things that we do and making us do them more efficiently and faster. Plus, by reducing some of the menial and repetitive tasks, call it data entry, research gathering, company overview sections, etc. It allows the team, particularly junior team members, to focus more on the professional judgment aspect of the valuations profession, which is really where our value add comes in, right? Talking to clients, giving our views, supporting those views with information, and along those lines. And yeah, it's really the young professional evaluators. They're getting the true benefit of it, right? It allows them to accelerate the process of getting to that professional judgment and review part of the job, which is, for all intents and purposes, more exciting than the data entry job, and getting there quicker. We have young valuations professionals today, Ashley being one of them, that use AI in their day-to-day tasks. And in doing so, they're actually developing very sought-after skill sets, particularly around prompt writing, which will become even more important as AI becomes more prevalent in society today. And, you would have thought prompt writing wasn't something that was even on anybody's thought process 5 years ago. And here we are, we have our young professionals that are really honing those skill sets. And again, it's changing the way that they do the work. They're getting to that review stage quicker. They're getting to that management stage quicker. They're managing something. It is AI, but they have to think more on a managerial sense, on a review sense. They have to use those critical thinking skills at an earlier stage of their valuations development journey. And I think because of it, the next generation of evaluators are going to be a lot more honed and quicker, and will get to the expertise level at a faster pace than we've ever seen in the past.
As Avela mentioned, I think generative AI is really revolutionizing and changing the business valuation profession. Not only is it improving efficiency, but it's also helping us gather more in-depth insights from data. What's a really interesting time period right now regarding AI is I think that a lot of our valuation professionals are at the forefront and are helping to develop some of the use cases that are going to be used to change the way we work. So they're developing tools and technologies that are really changing not only the business valuation process, but are impacting everything across the M&A cycle. Well, I think that generative AI's impact is pretty limitless. There are some specific use cases that we're actually developing today. So the first one is actually using AI for data collection and also research. So it can really be used in a business valuation context to help identify comparable companies and transactions. It can then also kind of synthesize all that information into one single format. So in the past, where like an analyst had to go through thousands of different websites or documents to provide an overview of maybe a competitor or a company, they can now use AI to do that for them. Another way that we're seeing the use of AI is really leveraging its data analysis functions. So using things like machine learning to kind of scan over large data sets and to extract different trends and insights that maybe a human analyst would not have recognized right away. So that's allowing us to gain more in-depth information about the data that we're using. Another thing that's really interesting with Gen AI is that you can use it actually to kind of scan thousands of different documents, whether it be financial information or non-financial information. So for example, there's actually a function that's being developed. It's almost like a chat box function. So you can actually interact and talk to a PDF. So you can ask it a prompt or a question. For example, if you're working on an acquisition, you can say, can you summarize all the details of the purchase price for me? And AI will actually extract that information and summarize it for you. So it's reducing kind of the workload needed to maybe scan a 1,000-page document manually and actually highlight that information, and it's doing it for you in a matter of like minutes. One of the ways that I think AI was used at the beginning that's still actually being used quite frequently is for report writing. So in valuations or even in kind of M&A, we always have to have a deliverable that we produce to clients to help provide them an overview of our conclusions. We normally have templates that'll include kind of an overview of a business or the industry. And now we're actually being able to use Gen AI to write that for us. So now it's no longer the role of starting writing it from scratch, but more reviewing the output. I think all of these kind of use cases are really important, but I think what they really demonstrate, as Avela mentioned, is that it's taking away kind of some of the maybe more nitty-gritty work, and it's now focusing on the high-level valuations and the more nuanced aspects of company valuations instead. So it's allowing us to use more and tap in more to our professional judgment.
That's a great point, Ashley. And you're right. There are limitations to AI, even if it is revolutionizing the way we work. Like AI can process loads of data very, very quickly, but lacks the nuanced understanding of what it is that's processing. And that's where we come in. And that's what's important, that we review and stay very close to the output that Gen AI spits out. We need to review it to make sure it's accurate, that accurately capture what it is that we wanted to do, that didn't omit anything. And, we can't just fall into the trap of assuming that everything is done correctly. Having said that, it's still important to go out there and try to see what Gen AI can do for the workflow that we currently have. I know sometimes because AI can require certain specific tone and approach to communicate, it may seem like asking it to do a specific task takes more time, particularly with the checking, than if we were to just do it ourselves the old-fashioned way. But the idea isn't to have this save time and enhancement the first time we do the task. The idea is to take the learnings as we develop in trying to get the AI to do what it is that we wanted to do, and then take those learnings and see those time savings the second, third, fourth, or fifth time around. It's a long play. It's not a short play, but it's important that we take AI along in the journey that we have as our profession evolves.
I completely agree with what Avela said. I think we're only at the beginning of understanding what AI is truly capable of, and I think we need to keep that in mind while we're using it. While there are some limitations to AI, I do think that it will continue to develop over the coming years, and that the human intervention and the review process of the output generated by AI will continue to decrease going forward. Looking ahead, as AI continues to develop, it'll keep having an impact on the business valuation profession. But I think our profession is well positioned to handle that change. I think the professional judgment aspect that even Brian mentioned earlier will always remain at the core of the practice. So no matter what, even as AI develops, business valuators will always need to kind of keep that element in mind when they're conducting valuations. And if anything, AI is a tool that we'll just be able to continue to leverage to hone in and focus more on kind of the high level analysis that needs to be done and more the complex aspects of business valuation.
Thank you, Ashley. I have a quick follow-up question.
Yeah.
So this is very interesting, all the different aspects of how AI might be implemented in our professional practice as CBVs. Do you envision firms, I won't pick on any ones, but let's say the larger firms, will they be actually looking for CBVs to specialize in certain areas, say prompting, developing prompts, working with large language models, that sort of thing? Or will they expect a CBV to have a handle on a wide range of AI-related skills?
I think it's a mix of both. I definitely think it's something they're going to start looking at. And I even think without necessarily even trying or being like educated on it formally, some of our more junior team members are already kind of taking that upon themselves. They've started learning how to write prompts by interacting with some of the tools we have at Deloitte and using them to say, like, I would like you to write this company overview, or can you find me this information about this company? And then taking the output and using it in a report or in their analysis. And I think already they're learning themselves on how to write these prompts better and how to make them to tweak their wording so that they get the output that's desired. But I definitely think going forward, that's a skill that will be kind of valued because of the fact that it really is a tool, like as Brian mentioned, that we should lean into and we should leverage. So I think the more kind of CBVs are educated on that, the better contribution it'll have to the practice.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for your insight.
Chris.
Okay, and next we'll have the pleasure of having Alex present on the use of AI in mergers and acquisitions.
Thank you. I'll try to entertain you on how I found love, both from a professional career standpoint and also on a personal basis. And I'll also talk about how CBVs are well positioned to take advantage of the movement of AI and how AI will make M&A faster, better, and more fun. So my name is Alex, like you said. I've been working in M&A for over 30 years. I have a CPA and CBV designation. I was lucky enough to work at Deloitte in UK, in France, and in Canada. Also did a stint of 3.5 years in the strategy group at Bell Canada, and was also a corporate development officer at Deloitte, where we built or bought businesses for ourselves. I've been able to apply the notions of CBV in many aspects of my life, whether it be with clients, with targets, definitely with our teams and developing our team members, as well as on a personal basis to negotiate with my kids, and also on everyday life on the streets. So I was also lucky enough, like you mentioned, during my studies at CBV, to meet my now wife, Catherine, who's the most wonderful person in the world. So if I try to use examples to follow up on how we've talked about the use of AI in business valuations, let me try to use a couple examples of how it can be applied to M&A and how we're best positioned as CBVs to make transactions, again, faster, better, and more fun. So if you break up the M&A life cycle, we usually start in phase one by talking about how we develop strategy in M&A. It used to be that to undertake a whole transaction would take usually 6 to 9 to 12 months. And that portion of M&A and strategy is usually a good 2 to 3 months as you think about researching potential targets, researching market trends, also trying to find the right target, building business cases to determine, is this really the most synergized picture that we could have working together? Now there are tools out there that helps you, like Ashley said, that helps you do this research. So, and as CBVs, we're well positioned because we're really good at doing research and building business cases. If you think about the next stage of an M&A life cycle, we talk about approaching targets, we talk about evaluating targets, and we talk about essentially negotiating with targets and building business cases. Again, it used to take about 2 to 3 months to knock on a door, try to convince someone to come with us, try to convince them that together we'll be better than on a standalone basis. Now, we have people now in our teams that are able to build business cases within a week or two And we actually share these business cases with targets. So as opposed to taking 2 or 3 months to have maybe a couple of bottles of wines and a couple of dinners, now we'll be able to do it over only 1 bottle of wine and 1 dinner and say, hey, listen, I'm giving you all the information you need. We don't need to negotiate on price. We all know what this is valued. And again, as CBVs, we're very well positioned because we know how to value businesses, and we know how to do financial analysis and options analysis. Then last but not least, if you think about the latter part of stage, so confirming that everything that has been said is true, so the diligence part, as well as closing documents and building the optimal integration plan. Again, used to take 2 to 3 months to do that. Now, we're able with AI tools to build these integration plans that takes into consideration, again, what Ashley said is, so that you spend more time building an interaction with the seller and be able to agree to a better deal thesis going forward. Again, as CBVs, given that we're strong in being able to analyze, future CBVs will be extremely well positioned to apply AI in the M&A world. So in conclusion, whether we like it or not, transactions will take way less time to do. Having all that information transparent with everyone to undertake a better transaction to give ROI, better ROI to stakeholders, and to make it, again, for CBVs, faster, better, and more fun. And if ever we meet on the street and you want to talk about how I've applied the notions of CBV in negotiations, I can explain to you how I tried never to split the difference in any negotiation.
And actually, a follow-up question, something you mentioned right at the end. You were saying that how a CBV designation will give you a leg up in negotiations. Again, what I've seen out there during my career is that you might be up against investment banks, CFAs. How do you feel that the CBV gives you that unique leg up, unique advantage?
So CBVs, like Ashley said again, so Ashley says a lot of things that are true. So as CBVs, we know how to do research. As CBVs, we know how to do financial analysis. As CBVs, now we're learning how to, because we are spending less time on doing analysis and research, we're able to build business cases, and especially the future CBVs will be able to do that better. So if you think about those skill sets that are being built, I honestly believe that we'll be best positioned to be better than any M&A advisor out there in the marketplace, especially as we use AI out there in the marketplace.
Adding my personal views, well, first of all, I concur that Catherine is a wonderful person. And I also concur with your viewpoints that AI, it's certainly not a threat to our profession, but rather it's a tool that will actually enhance our profession. It will make it more efficient. It will allow us to perform our work more quickly, even at a lower cost, which obviously our clients will like. And it only enhances our credibility as professionals. So it's something that we should welcome in our profession. I know that, again, historically, I've been asked to speak to many younger people, even in universities, considering the CBV as a potential profession. And I'll typically, add my personal experience. I'm a fellow of the Institute. I have 4 years of experience in valuation and M&A. I'm passionate about the CBV and the valuation profession. And I think why am I passionate about it? Because other than the fact that obtaining the CBV, it gives you a professional designation, it's certainly the remuneration is very attractive. But ultimately, it's about an exciting career. No two mandates are the same. And depending on what you specialize in, you can obtain some phenomenal experiences. In my case, I'm passionate about sports, and I valued quite a few professional sports leagues and teams and intangible assets around the world. So it's phenomenal being able to merge your passions with your profession. I have traveled the world as well too, seen some very interesting things emanating from being caught in the middle of a war in Ukraine during a client mandate, toward more recently I've opened an office in Singapore. I'm about to open one in Dubai, which is really the place to be, certainly as evaluator, because the profession, there's people with a lot of money, there's not much valuation knowledge, and we're looking to change that. And I think the CBV is one of a phenomenal opportunity to do that.
Hey, Drew, that was very interesting. Your international experience is pretty impressive. So you say at CBVs, we're going to be able to do it all in the future. So what superhero do you think CBV designation is most akin to?
I'd say, again, I'd say Superman, because, they're, save for the kryptonite aspect. I don't think there's kryptonite. I mean, we truly can do it all if we're so inclined. And again, one can develop, and the beauty of the profession, you can be a generalist, such as myself, wide range of skills, industries, focus on businesses from startups to large multi-billion-dollar companies, or you can become an industry expert. Intangible assets, purchase price allocations. I mean, pick your industry. As I mentioned, sports is in what I do. That's again quite exciting. And one thing I should mention as well too is I've quite enjoyed being a generalist, being involved in M&A transactions, as many of you have been, as the CBV should be and needs to be increasingly involved in transactions, because we have, as Alex was saying, specific skill sets that other professionals do not have, that allow us to calculate value and defend that value. And speaking of defending value, I've also had the privilege of testifying 38 times in court in North America as an expert witness. And that too, that's incredible. I have many war stories that take a lot longer than this webinar will permit. But again, bottom line is I greatly encourage anyone considering a profession, what should I do? I greatly ask you to consider the CBV. And again, in closing, I'd like to thank everyone for listening to this webinar and participating in it. And I invite, if you have any further questions, to contact any of us or the CBV Institute in Toronto. Thank you.